Hey, what's up? Hello. Welcome back to Fantasy Filmball's coverage of TIFF 2024. My name is Matt. Right now it is 7:30 a.m. My first movie's at 9:45 a.m. I'm just getting here early to be extra safe. I'm seeing The Brutalist right away, and it's in a tiny 250-seat theater. I want to make sure I get there as early as possible because the worst thing that could happen this entire festival is me missing The Brutalist because I decided to sleep 30 minutes more. This is TIFF. We make sacrifices here. Take your sensitive ass back to Telluride. Anyways, I'm gonna head right over there and I'm gonna edit yesterday's video. So I just got out of The Brutalist, Brady Corbet's 3.5-hour long magnum opus. What people are comparing to The Godfather, Once Upon a Time in America, There Will Be Blood, A Very Tall Order, but those comparisons are definitely valid. The film follows a Hungarian refugee, Holocaust survivor, and famed architect, Laszlo Toth, who arrives to America with nothing, and after a coincidence brings him together with the Van Buren family, he ends up being hired to design a major community center and church for the family. The first thing that hits you is the scope, the feeling of it all. From the moment that this begins, there's this ambition to it, this level of visual complexity and mastery that reminded me, frankly, I can't come up with a better comparison than The Godfather. There's this new Hollywood feeling to it, extremely classic while also being very contemporary. The film starts with an overture. By the end of that little musical section, I was completely in. I was sucked in, on board, 100%. The musical score feels like a train coming, both imitating the trains going to the camps, as well as the railways of America paving a way towards the American dream. That score is just this thumping, growing sound of horns. Anytime that chorus comes, there's just this wave of ecstasy that hit me. It's one of those scores that feels generational. And speaking of generational, this is Adrian Brody's best work, by far. His performance is on another level. It's incredibly vulnerable, powerful. He goes to places that I didn't know were possible for him, which is crazy because he's the guy that did The Pianist, which is an excellent performance. And this just took everything from there and built even further on it. Thematically, the film has a lot to say about the American dream and the pursuit of financial gain, the pursuit of happiness, and all of that, almost as though it's a continuation of what had happened in Nazi Germany. And those observations felt very fresh, very new. I don't think I've ever exactly seen that done before, outside of moments of Zone of Interest last year, where it seemed to compare the lifestyle, this sort of Western colonialist lifestyle, directly to the events of the Holocaust, and showed that these two ways of life are completely inextricably linked. And here The Brutalist does it in a different way, almost leaning back to the words that hung over the gate of Auschwitz, which is "work will set you free." Here we have a story of a Holocaust survivor who, in moving to America to pursue the American dream, has to work for what very much seems like potentially a white supremacist family. In a way, it almost feels like through the film, Laszlo has traded one camp just for another one. And as I mentioned before, Brady Corbet directs this with such a masterful visual language. Every single shot, every single frame is needed, is perfect. There's no question to me why this was 3.5 hours long. It deserved to be that. This is the great American novel, one of those films that I feel like we'll be talking about for years and years and years. This is the type of movie that they talk about when they say they don't make movies like that anymore. It's breathtaking. Everything about this film was magnificent. This is what I hoped Megalopolis would be all those months back at the beginning of the year when I was saying that people are craving a return to that style of filmmaking. This is the type of film I was talking about. Now the question is, will this get distribution? I think people would be foolish not to take it because this is the type of film that's going to have a legacy. Sorry if I'm overhyping this a little bit. I'm just really overwhelmed by what this film did. Top 5 of the year, easy. Easy top 5 of the year. Anyways, I'm currently in the rush line for The Last Showgirl, the new Pamela Anderson movie, and just a little bit how rush works. I have lined up behind all of these people. We're gonna wait for people to not show up, and we're gonna take their seats. So if I can get in, which I probably can because this is the Princess of Wales Theatre. And the Princess of Wales Theatre usually, in past years at least, has left entire rows open for rush lines, which means that at least 50 people should get in, probably more. So we will see. And we will hope. I'm gonna start a rush line counter through this video series so you can keep track of how many worked out for me and how many didn't, and how long I waited for each of them. So for The Last Showgirl, I got here at 1:30, and it is a 3 o'clock movie, so I'm doing 90 minutes for this. We're gonna see if this works out. Rush number 1, down. So as sometimes happens during film festivals, I got a little too caught up in talking to people between movies. I saw my buddy Justin, aka Brother Bro, and we chatted about The Brutalist, which I have so much to say about, so much more that I haven't said. This is gonna be one that I'll probably like record a huge video about. I have so many thoughts on The Brutalist. Anyways though, it means that I forgot to talk about The Last Showgirl, so I will quickly do that before I talk about the other film that I just saw. The Last Showgirl is the Pamela Anderson vehicle directed by Gia Coppola. This film follows a showgirl at the age of 57 years old. She's been dancing ever since she was 18 or 19 years old in a Vegas show, and she's very proud of her work. And when the owner of the show announces that they will be closing within the next 2 weeks, her life is thrown into turmoil as she realizes that she has no idea what else to do with her life. And as she counts down the days, counts down the performances, she also does her best to reconnect with her daughter. A daughter who for years felt abandoned. This film feels like a feminine version of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. It's someone who forever has made a living with their physicality, made a living as someone who performs gender. In The Wrestler's case, performs an extreme masculinity, and in The Showgirl, Pamela Anderson's character performs this extreme femininity through her dances. It's about someone who's faced with the realization at the end of a life of doing all of this that maybe she missed something, that maybe there was more to it. And it's about trying to reconcile with those mistakes, with those flaws. Pamela Anderson is fantastic in this movie. Truly career-defining work in the sense that she leans on the persona that people have known her for years. She plays the sort of ditzy, bubbly character, and yet through that, it's a shell that hides this great sadness. I will say that even though Pamela Anderson's performance is really well done, the script doesn't always allow it to flourish the way I feel like it should. Hang on, I think like Andrew Garfield is here or something. Never mind, I can't see shit. Anyways, back to The Last Showgirl. There's a lot of scenes that feel like they're repetitions of other scenes. You can only have so many scenes of her explaining how she's actually not a nude dancer. And so a lot of this film does sort of retread the same territory over and over, but it's still very entertaining, it's humorous, and Pamela Anderson's performance is definitely one that will go down as one of my favorites at the festival. To catch you up with everything, so I got out of The Last Showgirl and immediately got in line for The Life of Chuck. That said, I did not get a rush ticket. I did, however, find seats online, and I got maybe the best seat that I've ever had. Anyways, Life of Chuck is the new film by Mike Flanagan, of course the director of The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, Gerald's Game, of Oculus, has always done horror or horror-adjacent films, and this is his first non-horror film. This is, however, still adapted from a Stephen King novella, which is a very strange story. It's very hard to put down into a few sentences, so I'll do my best. Essentially, it's in 3 acts, going backwards through someone's life. The first act is about 2 people who are in the midst of the apocalypse, and they keep seeing advertisements saying goodbye Chuck to this guy who's an accountant. It's a very strange opening to a film, but within the next 2 chapters, everything becomes clear and things come into focus. I won't say anything more than that. It starts out as an apocalyptic mystery that becomes something more personal and more beautiful. The best way I could describe this film is Stephen King's Big Fish, in that it comes out of a place of hope. It comes out of a place of imagination, looking at our mortality, the stories that we tell, and the stories that we hold in our heads. We are an entire universe in ourselves, and to lose one person is to lose the world. I felt deeply emotional watching this, reflecting on mortality, reflecting on what life means and what we mean to each other, as well as reflecting on seizing the moment and appreciating the time that we have. It's a delightful, bright film. Even though it is a film about death, it's still full of beauty and lightness and humor. I do wish it was filmed with a little wee bit more visual creativity. I did not find it to be as aesthetically or visually pleasing as I wanted it to be. I didn't feel like they were making too many very interesting cinematic choices throughout. For the most part, it is a very plain looking studio movie. It could have been shot for TV. This could have been a Netflix film, and you'd be none the wiser. And so while I found the script to be deep and profound through its themes, I did find that it might have been presented a little bit flat. As well, the surrealist elements that happen in the first act don't feel quite as well developed as I would have liked them to be. I feel like Stephen King's brand of surrealism didn't quite come together in the right way. By the end of the film, when all of it clicks into place and all of it makes sense, when everything is understood, it definitely would make the first act feel a little bit sharper. I just feel like the surrealism of it all was a little bit clunky, but still definitely liked this one, definitely would recommend. All right, now I am in front of the Lightbox. I'm finishing my day off, not with a movie, but with a party. I've been invited to the Festival Programmers Party. This is where last year, Guillermo del Toro randomly showed up and kissed my mother, so that was a weird thing that happened. I don't know what is gonna happen this year, but I'm gonna go in, I'll probably film a few shots. Okay, so my phone did die, so I don't have videos from that party that I went to. Just gotta take my word for it. It was a cocktail party with people talking about film festivals. Nothing exciting there. No Guillermo del Toro this year, unfortunately. So I'm home now. I'm just settling to do some editing because I didn't get much done today because, I keep talking to people in lines. I love talking to people in lines. It is the best part of TIFF. I love meeting people at TIFF. I love meeting cinephiles, and talking about movies also means that I am very far behind with my editing. So that's what I'm gonna do right now, and I will see you tomorrow for another packed day of movies. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Matt, and this has been Fantasy Filmball.